Today in the Bonzi garage, we got another blue Banshee. This one being a 2001, the only year to come with this specific seat. So if you see a blue Banshee with this seat, you know you got a 2001. Now this is something that I purchased locally. Today what we're gonna be doing is kind of just cleaning it up, just making it more dialed for the next person that's gonna own it, in which this will be a giveaway on bonzigarage.com for a pretty cheap price point. Now I ordered probably about like $2,000 worth of parts for this thing already, a bunch of OEM stuff. But first thing I wanna do is just take all the plastics off, take the carbs off, take them completely apart, vapor hone those. You'll notice that it has a boost bottle. They do absolutely nothing and they just stretch the fucking intake boots. So I'm gonna remove that, put an OEM crossover tube. Little things like the front master cylinder cap, it's a little scraped and the bolts here are stripped out, so I'll replace that. I wanna leave the handlebars because they're original with the original bar pad, which is kind of hard to come across. We'll move this clutch perch up. I got all new plastics, front, rear, gas tank, rad, got a brand new graphic kit for it as well. The heel guards have just normal basic wear, so I have a set at powder coat getting done right now in alien silver, so we'll swap those on. Tires are brand new, which is clutch. The chain is fairly clean. You'll notice behind me I have fresh coils. These came off of a brand new OEM Banshee suspension, so the color is the same exact color as the ones that are on there, just they don't have all the pitting from rocks flying at them. Another thing too, the front bumper, it's common, you know, they get all dented up. It's the first thing to get hit when, you know, you're riding the ATV, so I ordered another one of those with some brand new dampers. Another thing that absolutely drives me nuts is when the headlight grills are missing, you know, parts of the grill, so I ordered 2 new front headlight covers. Now that I'm looking at it, it's got like mismatched plastic bolts, so I'll swap all those as well. We'll take the plastics off, that's first thing. Another reason you guys should be following Bonzi Garage, things like this entire plastic kit I have no use for, but one of you guys might be trying to build a Banshee on a budget and can save a couple of dollars by purchasing the parts from us. So this full plastic kit, I'll probably sell it for 250 to 300 bucks, the whole thing. And before I even post it on the story, there's a chat in which you can join on our page. All you gotta do is look for it in the bio of the Bonzi Garage Instagram. I'll give chat members the chance to purchase it first. Highly recommend you join that and make sure you're following us on Instagram. You know, some of them have the original graphics, but we're not gonna use shitty graphics with nice graphics. It doesn't really make sense. There you have it, a full plastic kit for sale on Bonzi Garage. If you made it this far in the video, make sure you go to Instagram right now and follow us if you're not. So now you can really see underneath the ATV, and for the most part, this thing is actually fairly clean. Obviously, it needs like a good wash. The rear suspension is crispy. First things first, I'm gonna take the tank off. I'm gonna take the airbox off. That way I can thoroughly clean those two. And we'll take the exhaust system off. Over here, it looks like maybe pants were rubbing or something spilled. So you got the normal T5 exhaust stain. I'm gonna try and polish that out. This will clean up pretty good too right here. You can see just by wiping it with my fingers. But we're gonna take these couple of little things off, take the exhaust off, cap the motor, give it a good detail with some clots. Foaming wash, this shit works great. Definitely gotta get yourself some. And obviously all the other Klotz products, we've been using it pretty much on every single bike. Let's see if she'll start. She got really good compression too. First kick. And obviously the fuel was off, so. She sounds good. We'll start by taking the tank off. Oh, the fuel line is so fucking dry that you move it a certain way, it's probably gonna snap. It's aftermarket too, so we'll put the OEM ones on. As you can see, it's, oh, a little bit of a leaker. It's got an aftermarket T, aftermarket lines, aftermarket key, which I didn't even realize. I'll probably swap that out for an OEM one. Some of the fucking Chinese shit you can get away with, I definitely don't recommend using it. So just spend the 60, 70, 80 bucks on an OEM key. Now that we got the tank off, we're gonna take the air box off. The filter is fairly clean, so someone definitely changed that recently, which is a plus. Sometimes the hardest part to remove off of a Banshee is the fucking airbox, I swear to God. Yeah, this thing is super nasty. I'm gonna have to take this all apart and brake clean it. It's got some like gold needles in there. Definitely not the Toomey needle. One thing I'm noticing right now, the clutch arm itself must have had like crazy slack. He must have drilled it out and put a bolt. Every single Banshee, it's always some fucking hoopty shit, I swear to God. I'm gonna have to swap out the clutch arm, and in order to do that, I gotta take the pressure plate off. But first things first, we're going to take these carbs off. Looked like he used some sort of like Home Depot T. I mean, if it gets the job done, it gets the job done. These are probably like a Vito's needle of some sort or some aftermarket needle, but it's not the Toomey needle. It's short like the OEM style, so I believe I have a set of Toomey needles. Those things I like to hold on to because majority of the Banshees that I get have T5s. Now that I got the tours off, I'm gonna pull these carbs, drain these, rebuild them. Sometimes these old carb lines could really be a when you're trying to pull them out, so just grab like a long needle nose plier and grab it like almost at the back of the engine and then just pull out towards you. That's like the easiest way, because as you've seen before, when I pull the carbs up out of the bike, those just end up getting stuck. They're not really flexible, they're hard as a rock. You can get yourself a fresh carb line kit at bonzigarage.com, just like this. I hate these things. They fucking stretch the intake boot, cause air leaks. Garbage. First, what you're gonna need to do is remove the lock on the case, which is actually one of the engine case top bolts. 10 mil, pull that off. In order to take this clutch arm out, you have to pull the clutch cover off. Before I do that, I'm going to take the exhaust off. I find that the easiest way to get those springs off of the headers is by standing the Banshee 12 o'clock. I definitely recommend that you guys get this if you work on Banshees often. This makes pulling the springs off of the header that much easier. Now, majority of this will clean up. Obviously, you got your basic wear and tear on the bottom. You know, this thing was definitely ridden over the years, but majority of the grease and grime will clean up, that's for sure. It's gonna take probably like 2 to 3 hours to really give it a good deep clean. When you're taking the clutch cover off, you gotta take a couple other things off. Obviously the heel guard, then the foot peg, then the foot brake. So you're gonna come in here with a flat head and just take that circlip off. Hopefully it doesn't go running away like that. Another reason why you should get the spring puller, so easy taking the spring off the foot brake. And now that you got all this off, take the kicker off of the kicker gear shaft. If it's a little bit of a bitch to take off, just get in here and try and like pry it up, open it up a little bit. Now what you need to do, first drain the oil, second drain the coolant. Take this hose off right here. Make sure you disconnect the overflow from the T. The person that I bought it from told me that they recently did an oil change, but you can never trust anyone. Definitely did not do an oil change recently. Oh, look at this. Another thing that we're gonna have to change. Good thing I have it in stock. This is all fuel leaking out of the gas tank. The petcock is probably no good, so I'm just gonna swap that too. You know, I keep a lot of the stuff in stock because these are common things. You know, this machine specifically is 24 years old. We just got a bunch of stuff in. We got the new headlight grills, the new dampers, got the crossover tube, all new OEM fuel lines. All right, now that that is draining, I'm gonna put the OEM crossover tube. Slide this in there. Your wire harness and hoses should always run underneath the crossover tube. I constantly see people like putting that on top of the crossover tube. The correct way from factory, your harness and the hose from the reservoir will run underneath the oil overflow too, meeting up with that T, and that'll run underneath the reed, come up right through here. On that oil drain bolt, I'm gonna put a fresh crush washer. You can buy, you know, these copper crush washers on Amazon. They come in a kit and it's fairly cheap compared to like buying it directly from Yamaha. Right on there, just like that. We're gonna put the drain bolt back in there, give it a good wipe down and then tighten it up. And you can just snug this, it doesn't have to be crazy tight. Just like that, just snug, that's it. Now next what you're gonna wanna do is just pop this clamp off. That was actually fairly loose. Just wiggle it, she's gonna fucking splash. As I'll run this hose behind the frame and then I'll just drop it like that. Just let her throw up. To really drain it, just pop the cap off. That way it just releases all the pressure. I think there's like 9 bolts total running around the clutch cover. Definitely get yourself a JIS bit. That way you're not stripping these bolts because they're expensive. Probably like $100. You're gonna wanna move that pan right underneath because chances are it's still gonna leak out a little bit of oil, a little bit of coolant. Just let it go like that. The idea is you don't wanna make a fucking huge mess. The gasket sticks out a little bit up top right here. It's got the original gasket. I can see that the mating surface on the case is fairly clean. So chances are someone probably never even popped this clutch cover off. You can see the whole fucking hose is moving right here. That's because that O-ring goes into the clutch cover for the coolant and it could be a What you're gonna wanna do is instantly just lean it down like that because there will be coolant still in there. Pretty clean for the most part. I don't think this person ever pulled off the clutch cover. The water pump gear looks good. You definitely wanna inspect that, make sure that none of these teeth are broken. And a lot of people, you know, will recommend the billet water pump. I've had nothing but bad experiences with them. The OEM one is definitely the best. So now I wanna try and get this whole gasket off without it tearing, and then I'll just go around the case, a little bit of brake cleaner and clean that up. But definitely the original gasket on there. Pretty much once you take off this pressure plate, it's gonna remove all pressure and you'll be able to just pop this out. The clutch arm has a spring and underneath that is a washer, and then you would have your seal. So remember that order: clutch arm, top, spring, washer. Clutch arm, spring, washer. So you're gonna need a 10 and you're just gonna wanna loosen all 6 of these. You'll know if it's the original springs because they'll have yellow around it. I like to use the original springs no matter, you know, what clutch or clutch basket I'm using because it's just super light on the finger when you're pulling in the clutch. All right, now you're gonna wanna pop this pressure plate off. So now, if you move the clutch arm, it'll be a lot more free and you'll be able to push it all the way towards yourself. And now what you can do is you just wiggle. The spring might get stuck, you might have to pry it up, but there you have it. This is what it's supposed to look like. So this is actually a used one that had zinc coated, so it's super crispy. We're going to toss this one in the garbage and install this one. And you're definitely gonna wanna put a little bit of lube, you know, all over this thing. Just make sure that the spring and the washer is there. Grab a little bit of the Klotz assembly lube, kind of burr all over this thing and then move it around with my finger. The washer is still on there. I got the spring on the arm. Gently put that back in there and just wiggle her down in. Now don't forget, if you took this off earlier like me, this has to go back on there. It goes right here, which I believe is number 9. You're gonna grab your 10 again, snug that down. So this really should be 7.2 foot-pounds. I'm just gonna tighten it down and then just give it a couple little turns. Nothing crazy, because you don't want that bolt snapping. Just make sure that these plates are separating and not stuck together, in which they're fine. Those are definitely the original clutches. And now I'm gonna put that pressure plate back on. And then once we have that on, we can put the clutch cable back on. There's a circle with an arrow in it. That has to match up with one of these arrows. Put that back in there. That. And before we put the clutch cover back on and put a new gasket, what we want to do is just make sure it's set correctly. For this part of the video, you're gonna have to remember arrows. So I like to do this in like a crisscross pattern. Once they're tight, they're tight. Don't overdo it. You will easily snap the bolt and you're gonna be sick because then you're gonna have to remove it, extract it, and it's just not fun. With a rag and some brake cleaner, I'm going to just go around the case, just make sure that all the oil is off of it. Specifically, you want to hit on the bottom. All the oil will kind of just sit on the case right there. Eventually just drip down, so just get in here with a rag, and it might come back a couple of times because there's still going to be a little bit of oil in the transmission unless you lean the bike over completely and let it sit for, you know, a minute. So now you need a clutch cover gasket. And where are you going to get that? BonziGarage.com. The best gaskets other than OEM. They have a little rubber sealant, the front and back side, so they seal really nice and don't leak. And sometimes just for security, depending on how many times the clutch cover has been pulled off of a bike, sometimes, you know, people try and pry the shit off with a screwdriver, so it leaves indents. I'll go with a little bit of silicone around both sides. If you're pulling the clutch cover off for any reason, I would definitely change the O-ring going around the coolant joint. You see how sometimes it gets stuck, and pulling it and pushing it back on, they can rip, they can tear. I'd just like to change it because the last thing you want is coolant mixing in with your oil. If you're wondering what that part number is for the O-ring, it is 93210-16314. That is the OE part number for the coolant joint O-ring. Throw that right around there. I'll just put a little bit of grease or lube, just like that. You want to make sure that that pin is there too. Don't forget about this pin. That's what lines the clutch cover with the case. Slide it on there, and don't fucking force this. It should, with a couple little taps, it'll eventually shut. Something to keep in mind, the longest screw, right? All of these, all 8 of them are the same. The longest one is right here next to the oil plug. That's the only one that's different. And I like to also tighten these in like a crisscross pattern. Tighten that. Tighten that here. You've got them all tight. Now what we're gonna do is make sure that we connect this back to that T. It's so important that you have it connected how it comes from the factory. If you don't, and you have this oil overflow line, you know, just running down like the carb lines do, in which I just won a Banshee from someone and that's how it was set up. Let's say you're wheeling in the Banshee, right? You're just gonna be running all your transmission fluid out. It's gonna be dripping all over the ground, and then you'll have no transmission fluid, because think about it, your bike's 12 o'clock, the engine's all the way back, all the fluid's going that way, and that overflow is right here at the back of it. Super important that all those hoses are connected. There's a little T, it's plastic, it's a three-way, just like the fuel lines. One comes from the back of the case, one comes from the clutch cover and what you just seen, and then one runs up here with that coolant overflow. So one of these is an oil and one of these is a coolant, and it runs right there. But like I said, if you're dripping oil and you notice it, that's a problem, and you want to diagnose that ASAP before you have bigger problems. You're either having crankcase pressure, which you could have a leak with a crank seal, or a leak with the sealant that you mate both the case halves with. You'll end up just fucking yourself if you don't diagnose that. There should be no oil coming out of those lines, ever. I'm going to be using Klotz Flex Drive 30. When you open this, it's mandatory. You gotta smell it. It smells so fucking good. I'm actually doing a giveaway with a whole bunch of Klotz product right now. That's another reason why you should follow us on Instagram, because we do free giveaways. I think we gave over like $200 worth of Klotz product for free. All you had to do was follow us and follow a couple of steps. But Flex Drive 30, this shit is the best. Definitely get you some. You can get it on Amazon or directly from Klotz, and soon enough we're gonna have it on bonzigarage.com. If you have a billet clutch cover and it extends out, you would use 2 full quarts. But if you have the stock clutch cover like this one right here, which majority of you guys probably do, 1.6. Now we're pouring up a real deal ad right here. This is no bullshit. Good shit. So now that we just did the fresh oil change, what you want to do, if you're following the steps that we're going, just route this back behind this bar. This crossbar going down the frame, the hose should always be behind it. I see a lot of people go like this. It doesn't run like that. It runs behind the frame like that. She's back on. Just make sure that this is tight, because the last thing you want to be doing is blowing a coolant hose while you're riding. Now that was a quick little tutorial on how to change your clutch arm. The previous owner had an e-brake, the parking brake, zip tied to the clutch cable. So I'm gonna run that clutch cable back through here, set it up on the arm. You want to put it in behind like that. You want to push down this arm so that way the stator wire stays there. We need to make an adjustment because we're a little out of whack here. We got a lot of slack up top. Grab a plier. We're gonna loosen the bottom one. And we're gonna just back this out. You wanna have like a nickel's worth of slack. See right here? That's before it grabs. So we're gonna remove a little bit of that. You should have a little bit of slack like that. Nothing too crazy. Now I'm just gonna tighten that back up with the plier. The arrow is aligned with the case, where before it had a lot of slack, so the arrow was more towards the vent on the case. And like I said, I like to keep it just a little bit behind. When I pull in, that slack is gone, and now it's aligned with the case. So this is the same shit this Banshee already had. We're just using some Prestone coolant, in which you can get at any AutoZone, Advanced Auto, O'Reilly's. Oh, sick. She definitely just overflowed. And that's what you don't want to do, people, is make a fucking mess. So in this case, what will happen now, it'll just run to the overflow once the bike gets to operating temperature. Working on Banshees is sick. It's an absolute fucking mess. So if you have a leak down test kit, this is the best way to wash your bike, like thoroughly. I'm gonna take 2 plugs for the exhaust ports and the intake ports. And normally I'll just take the OEM clamps off and I'll use the pipe fitting clamps. Not only do I have to clean the Banshee, but I gotta clean the shop. So once we have this thing clean is when we're gonna start piecing it back together, which will be in roughly about 2 seconds. So now it's day 2. Yesterday we left off and I pretty much gave the bike a nice deep cleaning. I just kind of did what I can, keeping everything together. I also went ahead and I rebuilt the carburetors. They were honestly really clean, but the jetting was definitely a little off. They had like really big pilot jets. He had 32.5 in there. I dropped it down to a 27.5. We got 280 mains and they're vapor home with some fresh carb lines. I found slides that already had the 2 needles in them, so we're gonna swap that out. It really cleaned up nicely in the rear shock area. The swing arm, the dog bone, all that like heavy grease and dirt came right off. I polished up the pipes. Now, one thing with, polishing the pipes is that these are chrome plated. So once you start polishing them, obviously the compound, it leaves scratches and it kind of makes it foggy. I just wanted to clean them up quickly. I'm not spending hours. Polishing is really dirty, nasty work. In this case, we're trying to keep it as cheap as possible. I feel like these Tumis cleaned up really nice, even on the backside, a lot better than, what the Banshee came in looking like. I even cleaned up the rear silencers and mid pipes too. Got some nice freshly powder coated alien silver heel guards to clean it up. And then we're waiting on some plastics and graphics. So in the meantime, we're just gonna start reassembling everything, tune the bike, so on and so forth. The only thing that I'm not gonna be able to do before we open the giveaway is swap the coils, because I have my friend do this. He kind of made like a really nice jig in which it takes like very minimal time. So I'll let him do this, and then you know, the winner will receive it with some crispy coils. Hopefully within the next hour, the plastics will be here, the graphics will be here, and she'll clean up nice. Make sure that you put the crossover tube on the carburetors. If you forget it and you're wondering why your Banshee isn't starting, it's because that crossover tube ain't there. So unfortunately, a common thing with the Banshees, on the front master cap, the bolt likes to strip. I can't tell you how many of these I've had to drill out. I'm just gonna use a quick little extractor kit. Oh, that's sick. And that right there, people, is why your boy is nice. Unfortunately, this happens with a lot of master cylinders, and I know it can be really, really stressful and unmotivating. Get yourself a little extractor kit and it will save your life. These things, you know, the Phillips head screw strips out because most people don't have the JIS bit. Shit like that happens where it just fucking snaps because it's so thin and brittle. That being said, now I'm gonna blow that out, clean it out real good with some brake cleaner, and then put new fluid in it, put a fresh cap on it with some fresh screws. Now you definitely don't want to fill it up all the way. You want to just fill it above low. Remember, this little rubber grommet is going to push down on it now, so keep that in mind. I'm still going to use the Home Depot T because I don't have any OEM Ts, but we have all brand new OEM fuel lines. So now that we have everything pretty much replaced for the most part that I wanted to change, before I put the new plastics on, I'm just gonna tune this thing, make sure that, you know, the slides and the idle is synced. I just put a fresh petcock on, some new fuel lines, and some fresh gas because the gas smelled horrible. See if she starts. So it's got the Taurus, and how you're gonna sync the idle is with this screw right here. I'm gonna drop this down a little bit. That one at like a 7. So make sure that you have the same reading on both sides. Now that we know the idle is synced, what I'm going to do is put the air box back on. Originally, this Banshee did not come with a lid, but I'm going to put it on there. So before, when I started it for the first time, I didn't have an air box or an air lid on there. So now it's getting a lot less air. I had set it up for an air box with an air lid. So I got 1.5 on the air screw, 280 mains, 27.5 for the pilot jet, which I dropped down 2 sizes because the guy had it at like 32.5. That's like a lot of fuel for the low end. Probably running hella rich. Good. Sounds healthy. So now, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put these last couple of clamps on the boots for the airbox, and then we're gonna put all the plastics and new graphics on. We'll do a whole bunch of photo, video stuff in front of the Bonzi garage wall. We'll take this to the airstrip to make sure that everything is good. Once we know everything is Gucci, she's off. This plastic piece should be riveted with the rivet gun. Push the rivet right in between. Just like that, she'll never separate. One thing I definitely see all the time is that people put these on as like separate pieces. It just looks janky and shitty. Get yourself a rivet gun, some rivets. The size of the rivet that fits is 3/16. Right now what I'm doing is sucking all the fluid through the system, meaning from the reservoir, through the master cylinder, through obviously the brake line, into the caliper and out of the caliper. That way we can get some fresh fluid in there. So I'm pretty much gonna run this reservoir almost until it's dry right now, put some fresh fluid in it and do it until I see clear fluid. fluid that was nasty has gone through the system. And there you have that nasty contaminated brake fluid. So if your brake fluid's this color, probably should drain it, clean the system, put some new ones in there, or put new fluid in there. So it's a couple days later, and we are at the airstrip in which we test all the ATVs. Earlier in this video, I told you guys that you would be able to enter to win this Banshee. Unfortunately, it's already sold out. We're at the strip, we're gonna test it, but after we test it, there are a couple of things that I still wanna do before delivering it to the winner. Number one, I still have to swap those coils. And number two, you might have noticed this earlier in the video when the plastics were off, but the ass is bent up a little bit. As you guys know, when the ass is bent up, it bends the plastics, they don't sit right, and it's not sitting in my head right, delivering it to the winner how it is like that. So I'm gonna get that situated right after we leave here. I'm gonna go to my friend PD's shop, and I'm gonna have him just cut the frame, bend it down, weld it, sand it. That way it looks OEM and you wouldn't even know, and then hit it with a little bit of touch-up paint. Lastly, I did just ride it up and down. The steering is out of whack a little bit. So once I do those two things, I'm gonna go back to the shop, do the alignment, and then deliver it to the winner. But make sure you're tapped in on Instagram. That's where you'll get all the behind the scenes stuff. You'll be able to join things like this before it makes it to YouTube, because I really thought we were gonna be able to take this whole thing apart, work on it, put it back together, get here, do photo, video in the shop. Obviously, when it was finished, post a video the same day of the giveaway, but yeah, it's too much and it's almost like impossible. That being said, I'm gonna ride it up and down a couple of times. That way you guys get to hear it. Later today, I'll be delivering it to the winner. Alrighty, I think she's ready for her new home. Congrats to John, who is taking this one home. Actually, somewhat local here on Long Island. Can't beat it for 60 bucks. I mean, this dude is beyond thrilled. He's been entering for a while, and he finally hit. So now I'm gonna head to PD's, get this frame fixed up. We out of here. Whoa, shit. So we just got to PD's shop. For those of you guys that don't know PD, this is the man right here. This is PJ Fabrications. He pretty much handles anything that needs to be fabricated on the Banshees. He's kind of got this down to like a science. Yeah, that's what we have right now, a BBL. But anyways, this is what we're avoiding doing today. This frame is in here probably for the same reason, but probably is a lot worse. So he goes ahead and he makes these rear ends, in which he's leveled up over the past year. Now he's got the correct die and press brake, and what we want to do is save the rear end if possible, and then we're just going to do a little bit of touch-up paint. That way it's back to the normal position, being straight. The Banshee right now is kind of like this.
And then the seat will be able to come on and off nice.
Yeah. And the plastics will obviously sit right. You can see that it's lifted up here, and then the plastics kind of mold, and these are brand new. So this is probably like the worst part about this Banshee. This happened to be a thing. Other than that, pretty fucking clean. And you can see like where it's got the stress marks. So normally, if this was like a full restoration, what we would do is like cut this completely similar to that frame, and then he'll fill it with rod on the inside, which would make it a lot stronger. I'll have him cut some custom gussets that are pretty thick. We do it on the outside, more closer to the CDI, and then we'll put a little triangle right here, like just behind the airbox. The frame would then get powder coated right after that as well. I'm just trying to make this right, that way the plastics sit correctly.
Told me to get this thing. Look at this thing, monstrous. 5-in-1, baby.
Yeah, I don't want to overspray on anything, so I think what I'll do, go back to the shop, take everything off the rear, the silencers, rear grab bar, the taillight, CDI regulator, probably even the overflow. Just get all that stuff out of the way. That way, no overspray is on any of that.
Brought no food with me here today too. I want some fried calamari.
What the f? It's a Monday at like 11 a.m., bro. Go get yourself a bacon, egg, and cheese. You got this shit all f***ed up. So obviously by this point in the video, you know that you're not gonna be able to enter to win the 2001 Yamaha Banshee. That is with its new owner. But what you can win is this 2004 limited edition right here beside me. And all you gotta do is go to bonzigarage.com, purchase yourself a digital download, and you're entered to win. Now it's $75 per digital download, and there's 200 of them. It's maxed at that. And as soon as it's sold out, we'll draw the winner live on the Bonzi Garage Instagram. So if you're not already following us, which I said about like 10 times in this video, make sure you follow us because you will miss out. First place takes it home. Second place is 200. Third place is 100. Fourth place is a free entry into the next Banshee giveaway. So waste no time, get yourself an entry. We're recording this on Thursday, October 9th. It's 3:51 p.m. so you still have time, but don't waste no time. Get yourself an entry.